For joining us today. I'm Danilo. I'm the head of growth here at Interlay, and I'm happy to be here with Alexei and Dom, the co-founders, to talk to you about the Kintsugi Bitcoin DeFi Hub. It's a super exciting day for us because it went live today. So Alexei is going to talk a little bit about the vision for Interlay, and then Dom is going to give you guys an overview of the platform, of the live demo. Feel free to ask questions either in the chat or in the Q&A tab that you have there on the side, and we'll answer them at the end. Yeah, looking forward to this. All right, Alexei.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Alexei. I'm one of the two co-founders of Interlay. I have a background in computer science, and I met Dominik during our PhDs at Imperial College in London. And together, we essentially, over the last 3.5 years, built some of the research that we have been doing there into production. And it's super, super exciting that we're finally actually at a stage where we're no longer just a bridge. Interlay is now a full-fledged Bitcoin DeFi hub. And what I'll do now is I'll just quickly walk you through why we're doing this. But first, maybe Dom wants to say a few words.
Yeah, hi, everyone. I'm Dom. I'm the other co-founder of Interlay. I mostly do tech stuff, and I am a surfer. That is very correct. Back to Alexei.
All right, let me then share the screen and just walk you very quickly through a few things. All right, can you see that?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, so Bitcoin has over 300 million users, right? This thing has been growing faster than the internet. And the most interesting thing about Bitcoin, if you especially compare it to all the other cryptocurrencies and blockchains that we see today, Bitcoin is the one asset, the one project, the one vision that is leading mass adoption, right? Bitcoin is being used for payments, it's being used for borrowing, for loans, for remittance. And especially over the last few weeks with the chaos on the markets and the banks essentially showing us once again why you should perhaps not entrust them with all your money, Bitcoin is getting again more attention, and it is rightfully getting so. But all of the cool stuff, all of the innovation and novel developments that have been happening over the past few years are happening on other chains. DeFi, DAOs, NFTs, identity, e-voting, ZK proofs, everything else is happening on Ethereum, Cosmos, Polkadot. And it's a bit of a controversy, don't you think? Bitcoin, the thing that started it all, the vision, the mission, cannot be used for anything else except for payments without going to a centralized provider. While we have this novel ecosystem of so many cool things growing in its own bubble. Because if we're honest, Bitcoin is the only thing in this entire crypto space that comes close to being a potential store of value and potentially a payment that can reach the masses globally. So what do we need to do? We need to get Bitcoin over to these other networks, right? Bitcoin does not support smart contracts. We cannot encode more complex things, and it's fine, right? Bitcoin is good as it is. It is secure, it is robust, and it is reliable. It is predictable. It is the number one argument for Bitcoin for many people is, if I get BTC, I know exactly how many Bitcoin there are. I know exactly what inflation is. I don't have to worry about major changes. I don't have to worry it's changing consensus. I know what it's going to do, and I know what the plan is, right? So, okay, it doesn't change. Let's move it over to other chains. And obviously, as you all know, moving Bitcoin to other blockchains is usually centralized. And as of today, 99% of the BTC on Ethereum, Cosmos, and so on is centralized. And it's dominated by centralized providers. So you do get DeFi, but actually you're still trusting a few centralized bridges. And in the end, it's kind of C-DeFi. It's not really DeFi until you have the guarantee that you can always get your Bitcoin out. And this is what Interlay built over the last couple of years. We built a fully decentralized bridge, and it's been live for over a year now. But a bridge is not enough. To achieve global adoption, and we need to get Bitcoin more into this innovation circle, right? We need to really add more features. We need to make these things more accessible to the Bitcoin community. DeFi, you can borrow against a BTC, so you can trade it against other assets and do all sorts of things. And this is why over the past few months, we've been working hard together with our community to build an open source, fully decentralized DeFi layer on top of the Interlay network. So now, as of today, we've launched an experimental system on Kintsugi, which is Interlay's smaller sister network, which is there for experimentation. We take security very seriously. We've just completed our 6th audit and now are pushing this out to Kintsugi together with our community to make sure that it runs there. We battle test it in production this time and see how things are working. And over the next 2 months, we'll be gradually and continuously improving the user experience until we are ready to launch on Interlay, removing caps and limits and really starting to scale. So this basically is our solution and our contribution to Bitcoin mass adoption, one dApp for all things Bitcoin finance. And I will skip over the details here because Dominik is going to walk us through the demo, but in a very, very short summary, how does the new Interlay architecture work? It was presented in a V2 white paper that you can all check out if you go to the interlay.io website. At the core, Interlay has this novel trustless bridge that has been live for over a year now. Every BTC is insured by collateral. You can always get your Bitcoin out. And if you don't, if for some reason something goes wrong, your Bitcoin is stolen, you'll be reimbursed in the collateral, and the collateral is multi-collateral, it's DOT, USDT, and we're adding more and more assets as our community explores the risk management frameworks. It's important that it's multi-collateral. It's not just one token. It's not the native token because that would be too risky. It really has to be multi-asset and properly decentralized. On top of that, and this is the new stuff, we have a decentralized exchange, which is Uniswap V2 plus Curve Style V1, a liquidity protocol, Compound V2 style, multi-chain connectors. As you already know, we're well connected within the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystems. And there's been a lot of work recently within this ecosystem to get bridges to Cosmos and Ethereum. And we really hope to see those going live soon in a decentralized manner. But also this multi-chain connector will integrate well with things like Wormhole, Axelar, and so on. So users who would like to rely on a centralized solution but get it faster can also potentially do that. And on top of this DeFi layer, we're building a one-click interface with APIs. This will be all open source. You can host your own interface. You can customize the structure there. You can build your own strategies. You can really integrate with the DEX and the lending to build more sophisticated interfaces and customize them to your potential users' needs. And I'm also happy to use this chance to announce that the Kusama proposal and to integrate the Kusama ecosystem with Banksa is now passing with a vast majority of yes votes. So we will see fiat on and off ramps to Kintsugi and Interlay, but also the entire ecosystem. Interlay has been leading this deal for the past few months, which will hopefully make it much, much easier to on and offboard from fiat into crypto. And with that, handing over to Dominik to show us how do we get Bitcoin into DeFi, the DeFi.
All right, thank you very much. I'm gonna take over the screen for a second here. All right, cool. So welcome everyone again, and again, feel free to ask questions also in the chat on the side or in the QA section for later. I'm gonna walk you through the Kintsugi deployment that we have live right now. This is a live demo, so we will figure out together if everything is going to work out, because live demos are always exciting, both for the people that listen in and for the one who's presenting it. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to bridge over some Bitcoin to the Kintsugi chain. So basically, I have some Kind already here in my account, and if you go to the Kintsugi website now, there's like a faucet in the live network as well. So if you don't have any Kind at all, you can get like a minimal amount. So you can actually bridge over some Bitcoin without having to go and buy the Kind. Right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just issue like a very small amount over on Bitcoin. And while that interface looks quite simple, what it does in the magic technology kind of behind it is the UI just automatically selected for me a vault, and that vault is basically now going to collateralize my Bitcoin that I'm going to bridge over. So I'm gonna confirm this, and by confirming it, what will happen basically is that the transaction that's being sent is now reserving my collateral, and you can't see, but there's a talisman pop-up there that I'm just improving that request. And now the chain is creating a unique address for me to deposit my Bitcoin. So the every vault gets like unique addresses generated, and those basically ensure that you can't, replay these transactions, and it's also fully decentralized. And where, the moment this goes live, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send actually these Bitcoins from my ledger that I have here, the small one. And yeah, because it's a demo, apparently it takes a little bit of time right now. But I guess the interesting part that you could also do is like you can manually select your vault if you wanted to. Okay, cool. There we go. So transaction is finalized. What I'm going to do now basically is I'm gonna copy this address, and I'm gonna go to my Bitcoin wallet that's right now that's off screen. I'm gonna send the Bitcoin there. I'm gonna send this amount, so I'm gonna copy that part, and there we go. Continue, and then you can. I don't know how well you can see this because I have a very old one, but the Ledger app basically now shows me the address that I can see on the UI here, and I'm confirming the address right now, and we approve this, and we confirm the transaction, and then we're all good to go. So this is being sent now. It's going to go into the mempool. We can see, can say that we made the payment now, and this will then show up on the site here where you can see all the bridging transactions. It takes a second for the Bitcoin transaction. It enters the mempool on the Bitcoin side, and then it will show up here, right? And then you can see the Bitcoin transaction being live here in Blockstream. So it's unconfirmed right now. Obviously, this takes a while overall until this is confirmed. What happens in the background is that the Bitcoin transaction now needs to be included in a Bitcoin block. We know Bitcoin takes a little bit of time. Then we need enough blocks in our Bitcoin Lite client to be included to make sure that there's no fork ongoing in Bitcoin that could kind of interfere with this. So we just need to wait usually about an hour for these 6 confirmations. But obviously we don't want to do a 1-hour demo. So I already bridged some Bitcoin over yesterday. You can see here, so once it's done, you basically can see that which block it was included, how much Bitcoin was bridged over. And that's basically it. And you can see also which vault is backing that particular piece of Bitcoin. So let's say we bridged over this Bitcoin now. Let's do some stuff with the Bitcoin that we bridged. And here's the 2 new things that we have. So number 1 is the lending protocol. And what does a lending protocol do? In a lending protocol, you can supply money. So here I already supplied some KBTC, and I supplied a little bit of USDT. And you can use that. You can just kind of do like passive income kind of a thing where people borrow against your tokens. There's an interest that's being earned. And you can also, if you go to the toggle here, you can use it to borrow some other coins. So let's say I also have some KSM. Let's also put in some KSM, sign the transaction for that one. So now we're basically supplying KSM to that market, so other people could borrow that KSM that I'm now supplying. So I know that some people, especially in the Kusama ecosystem, right, they'd like to stake KSM. So you could potentially, borrow KSM from a pool and stake it on the Relay chain. since I guess we have some people on the network right now, the kind of how the lending protocol works is you have basically these pools of tokens in these markets, and depending on the utilization of the market, so the more the tokens get borrowed, the higher the interest rate become. Right. So now we supplied like the 2 KSM to the market. Now let's say we also want to use KSM as collateral asset. Again, we're signing a transaction. This means that basically every asset that you explicitly allow as a collateral asset, this kind of becomes an asset that's at risk, right? Because you can borrow against it, but that also means like if there's price fluctuations, you could get liquidated for that. So, kind of make sure that you understand exactly how the protocol works, do your own research, not just kind of go haywire on this. And let's just say I want to borrow now some USDT. And I'm going to be very stingy. I'm just going to borrow $2 against my KBTC and my KSM, just to make absolutely sure I don't get liquidated. But what happens now in the background is basically, so my collateral that I have on chain is used to borrow USDT that others have supplied. And now the people that supplied USDT, they're getting some interest from me when I pay back my USDT, basically. And I, by taking the loan, will eventually have to pay the USDT that I borrowed with some interest also paid in USDT. So that worked out well. And let's say you can see basically here on a yearly basis your how much interest you would need to pay and how much is accrued. So now we have a fraction of a cent accrued, and let's say I'm super stingy again, so I don't want to keep that loan. So you basically just repay it, and you pay that fraction of a cent of interest on it, and then your loan is repaid. And that's essentially how a lending protocol works. And you can, there's tons of resources on this, how you can kind of create financial strategies with this. I guess what's very interesting to say here is, in comparison to some of the other lending protocols that we have in the XCM ecosystem right now, under the hood, when you actually supply these tokens, you're getting back a thing called like a Q token that you will see also up here in your balances. So I have like 100 QUSDT, and that allows us to eventually reuse those tokens. So let's say you can supply USDT in the lending market here, and then you would eventually be able to, say, open a vault that uses QUSDT, so like an interest generating asset, as collateral for a vault that then backs the Bitcoin that I bridged over. Cool. All right. And now let's hop over to, well, the DEX side of things. So swap and pools, I guess there's no big surprises in here. Everybody kind of knows, I guess, at this point, how a simple kind of DEX works. But basically what we have is 3 pairs right now. So we have KBTC USDT, the KSM Kint pair, and the KSM KBTC pair. And you can supply into that. So let's do that quickly. You can already see I already supplied in those 2 pools, but let's just, for the sake of it, let's supply another 2 KSM into this pool. So you can see, I just entered 2 KSM and then automatically selects the amount of KBTC for me. And I'm just going to add some liquidity to that pool as well. We're going to sign the transaction again. Under the hood, this is a Uniswap V2 curve. So basically, the proven system in the crypto world. There's obviously some plans to kind of iterate on that and come up with new designs. But for now, it's a Uniswap V2 that's implemented. We also have a Curve V1 implementation, but there's no tokens yet in that, or there's no pools created with that just now. And once you added your tokens, you have access to the liquidity here. right now we don't have a ton of liquidity in there yet, but you can see how much basically you supplied. And yeah, that's really about it. And if you wanted to withdraw, you could just withdraw your tokens here, which right now not going to do. And then the very last thing that I want to show is a swap. And let's quickly do a swap. Say we want to swap some KSM to USDT. So we would go through a route KSM KBTC pair and KBTC to USDT. So let's quickly do that. So we want to have 0.1 KSM swap for USDT, and then you can see down here kind of price impact, expected output, minimum receive, the fees that you're paying. Also pay attention kind of here how much you're getting. So there's a slight imbalance in the pools. So you get a little bit more dollars worth of USDT, but always make sure when you do a swap to pay attention to kind of the pool imbalances. And since we just launched literally a couple of, maybe an hour or so ago, as the thing is live, it's still very early. So make sure to pay attention to like the liquidity in the pools, especially while they're still quite low when you do a swap. And that's basically a whole kind of new DeFi ecosystem. If you wanted to, exit back to Bitcoin, get your Bitcoin off, the bridge is fully functional. So now, if we wanted to go back to Bitcoin, you could do that via that redeem field. You would just have to get your, a Bitcoin address, enter how much KBTC you want to bridge back, and that's about it. And in the end, it would show up on your transaction page here, and eventually be completed by a vault. And maybe you can also, because it's a live demo, we're doing some live updates still on the network. This was a UI update kicking in, so you get the freshest new features. Right, so here, if you want to go to the stats page, you can get basically all the latest and greatest insights, how if you bridge Bitcoin over, how it's secured. These are the kind of the different collateral assets. So there's very few Kint, mostly USDT, KSM, and LKSM being used back to Bitcoin, and these are the vaults that are basically servicing these requests. And that's it from my side, from the demo. So thank you very much, and I guess we open it now for questions.
I have a question. I wanted to ask one of you guys, maybe Dom, to explain a bit like how the vault system works, because I think that's what's unique about the platform. You don't see that by just looking at the UI. Like, how does it work and why is it different? Like, what makes it unique?
Yeah, so the unique part is that we're the only bridge where anyone can become this vault. So how Maker basically mint the DAI stablecoin, how it kind of started, where everybody could just mint some DAI. So basically, we're trying to bring over that same kind of principle to a bridge. So if you want to safeguard Bitcoin, you just need to come to our platform. You need to deploy some collateral, and there's an off-chain client that you're running. That off-chain client manages all that, Bitcoin stuff, sending Bitcoin back to the users mostly. And it's very kind of easy and permissionless to join. The collateral requirements are about $50, around that. And it's kind of from a security level, it's over collateralized, all the Bitcoin that come over. So it's really quite a unique system that offers a lot more security than other comparable Bitcoin bridges.
Right. Thank you. There's a question here about how to protect against slippage or preview expected slippage.
That's a good question. So basically, there's if you go to the swap page, let me maybe quickly just show it again. If you go to the swap page, then you will see if it's working. Right. Let me zoom in a bit. If you're on the swap page, there's a little icon here, so you can set some slippage tolerance. That, you know, especially at the beginning, to make sure that you're protected against that. And there's also there's a built-in kind of warning if the price impact in the pools would be more than 5%. There should be a pop-up coming up and basically warning you that the price impact is more than 5%, and if you want, be sure to still execute the trade.
All right, thank you. If anybody has any questions, feel free to write in the chat. If not, I'll just keep going. I have another one. I have one for Alexei now. Alexei, maybe you could give like everybody an overview of like where we go from here, right? Because like we just launched, so what can people expect in the next few months?
How much alpha can I actually drop about the things that are still early in work in progress? Dumb.
Go for it.
So in the end, so basically, look, so the DeFi Hub launched now. So what's the next step? Obviously, it's live on Kintsugi. We're going to, as already mentioned, we're shipping UI improvements and really working to add a new look and feel, make it feel much more secure and robust, right? Because look and feel matters a lot, especially to the Bitcoin community. Right now it works. Now we need to make it look, ideally it should look like a centralized exchange, but be still decentralized. And on top of that, we're working on these one-click strategies and helping basically community and other devs to really build their own kind of one-click solutions. So think of it this way right now, as you've seen in the demo, you would mint, you would go to lending and you would redeem, and it's multiple clicks. Well, what we're doing now is, you know, there is USDT put up by a vault as collateral. This vault is also offering it in the lending. You have Bitcoin, you say, okay, I want to borrow some dollars, one click, send Bitcoin, and you get the USDT. And maybe even, and this is why the fiat on and off ramp is a big topic, we actually might be able to get it directly into your bank account or directly into your credit card. So you can then take on microloans, get on your credit card and just pay for stuff, right? And you're borrowing against Bitcoin. So really trying to really move it towards product market fit and integrate it with real world commerce. That's one direction that really fits well with the existing DeFi layer. And then, well, what after that? Interlay is going to launch. We start scaling, building up more liquidity, servicing more parachains. We're patiently waiting for Snowbridge, the decentralized Polkadot Ethereum bridge, to go live, so we can also trustlessly access that ecosystem. However, we're also working in the background with some of the centralized and more reputable bridge providers who've been operating for a while, to also give our users this option, right? Everybody should do with a Bitcoin what they like. If you want to do it now, if you really want to, for example, get into WBTC on Ethereum, and we all know as a normal retail user, there's no way for you to do that properly. You either go through Binance and buy it, or that's it, right? You can't really go to BitGo and ask them to mint. So that's basically one direction that we're exploring. So you can, if you want to, you'll potentially be able to just, get Bitcoin, move it over to Ethereum's WBTC, and then also in other chains. Yes, you have some like quick exposure potentially through one of the centralized bridge provider in the beginning until the decentralized Polkadot Ethereum and Polkadot other EVM bridges are live. But then it's very short because you just swap it over and you can use WBTC and Ethereum, but then you have actually a way to get it back into Bitcoin without going to centralized exchanges again, which is one of the big problems with wrapped BTC and Ethereum today, because it's all centralized and custodial. Apart from that, there's some other new stuff, right? I mean, there's been a lot of things that we've been kind of working on in the background. We're exploring, and this is still very early, to see if we can position Substrate and Ink and generally its ecosystem closer to the Bitcoin community. This is still very early, very alpha, so we still don't know if this is really going to take off. But we're looking into, the Bitcoin community is really working a lot with Rust. Like Lightning, a lot of that is built in Rust. There's some sidechain developments happening where people, use multisigs to build some, and then they move Bitcoin off into not something big like Interlay or so on, but some smaller kind of chains, and then kind of can build their own products. And interestingly, that sounds very similar to what Substrate is doing. So we're kind of exploring, hey, can we position Substrate as a way for people to build features directly into BTC, use Interlay tooling to build their own products, and potentially, maybe, we're still exploring, build custom features using Ink smart contracts, because Rust is such a great programming language. And if you want to build smart contracts on Bitcoin today, well, on Bitcoin itself, it doesn't really work. You have this really weird script language, which works well, but it's very limited. Or you can go to some of these other providers who offer EVMs or some custom languages. And the idea is, well, could we offer the Bitcoin community Rust, which is anyway their preferred language of Rust? So that's kind of one exploration. And then last but not least, obviously the classical question, scaling. So bridge scaling, improving bridge scalability and security on the Interlay side, exploration into threshold signatures and things like potentially Fala's SGX and trusted execution network, and in integrating these options so vault operators can choose their security models, they can bundle up together and offer even more secure vaults, and then also potentially get delegations from users to really start getting more and more people, both technical and non-technical, but who want to deploy capital into the system together to create this value network. That was a lot. You'll hear from us and more of these things coming out with more detail over the next few months and more detailed blog posts and announcements. So stay tuned. And yeah, that's it. A long answer to a very short question.
Thanks. I'll do one last one that came up in the chat now is, how do I get some of those other coins shown in the demo through XCM transfers?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So we have support for Kusama to Kintsugi and back, and state mine Kintsugi there and back. If you want to have assets from other chains, I mean, those are the ones, the markets that are currently live. So USDT from StateMind and KSM from Kusama. If you want to bridge over other assets, so right now we support LKSM as a vault collateral as well from Karura. So there's the Karura app that's usable from that. And you can always also bridge to other chains. So there's for KBTC and Kint, there's DEX deployments also on other chains, and you can use then say the Moonriver app or Karura app or the other chains kind of that we're connected with, and use their front ends to bridge over via XCM. We're going to release our XCM support for other chains soon as well, so you can also just use our app, but that's not live yet.
All right, thanks.
And maybe just to add on, so we'll post the guide, because obviously like Kusama is generally very experimental, like getting USDT, you have to get it from Bitfinex or from Gate.io. There's bigger exchanges that are working at adding support, so it's much easier, to get it from an exchange onto StateMind and then easily onto Kintsugi and other chains. There is also automatic XCM forwarding being worked upon by many teams, including Parity. So you don't have to worry about, I go to StateMind and then I move it to a parachain, or I go first to Relay Chain and Kusama and then I move it over, but then you can directly deploy this into each parachain with one click. This is also quite important for like the fiat on-ramp that you will see going live next week. So that basically, you just get the asset that you like directly on, let's say, Kintsugi, and similar also for bridges, right? So if you would, currently, for example, HydraDX and Basilisk use a wormhole, and you can bridge over to their chains. This will also work for Kintsugi and Interlay, but you need to do multiple clicks. And there's two teams in the ecosystem working on one-click solutions, which will make it very easy for you to use wormhole, and also other bridges. Select, okay, I want to go from Ethereum to Kintsugi, one click, and everything else, all the clicking that you usually need to do happens in the back. So I think, as you can see, like the motto here is reduce clicks, make it very easy, and improve quality of life of all users.
Cool. Thanks. I have one more. I mean, there were no more questions, but now there's one more, which I think is great. Is what's the strategy for bringing liquidity to the network?
So
maybe something's in the air.
Yeah, so there are some things. So essentially, the community already voted to activate the liquidity program, right? So the community proposed and voted and activated the treasury-funded liquidity program that you already can see on Kintsugi deployed now. The community can also decide to activate new things, right? So you can come up with, there's tons of ideas and options to attract more users. Ordinals is, for example, one, so you can also, play around with that. So yeah, there's a few things being cooked up and in the works, and obviously, also in the community, we've heard some interesting ideas and rumors. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what will get proposed over the next months. Also, obviously, we're doing a lot of biz dev in the background, talking to big institutional players to basically showcase, hey, look, you don't have to trust FTX. You can actually use a fully decentralized solution. And the surprising thing is that many people are also on the institutional side, they're more and more kind of, focused on DeFi deployments. So I'm really curious to see, especially with the recent things that we're seeing in the US, what will happen there over the next few months.
All right. I think there's nothing else.
And last one here, actually, as you all know, Hydra is diversifying the treasury into IBTC, and that's actually going live very, very soon, potentially even in the next 2 weeks, so I heard. So we'll see more stuff happening with other partners as well.
All right, cool. Thanks. If there are no more questions, then I think we can end it here. I wanted to thank you. Well, thank everybody. Oh, there's one more from Philip. All right. Are you planning to also issue a stable backed by Bitcoin, something like KUSD or IUSD?
If we find a new prefix, that's, I think, the most difficult question and problem in crypto right now, is to find a free prefix for your new stablecoin. If there's a way that we can solve that problem, then maybe we can also develop a Bitcoin stablecoin.
So if you have name suggestions that will work very well, please do post them. That will make it much easier for us to deploy that. It's possible. Let's put it this way.
All right. So thanks everyone for joining. Thank you, Alexei and Dom, for coming here. And I wanted to invite everybody who attended to join us on Discord, right? And share feedback, ask questions. We're always happy to talk to you and hear from the community. Sorry. So thank you. And yeah, have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.